Good evening, Lyman Hall and all the community watching. We apologize for the delay, but of course there would be technical difficulties, even though we've went through this 9 different times today, but that's just the way things work. So we appreciate everyone coming tonight. We're going to have a wonderful night. We're going to make this the best possible night that we can. And then we will post this to be sent up as soon as the evening is done. So again, thank you for showing up online tonight. I'll make a few comments and then I'll give my speech once we get started. But first, obviously the mayor could not be here with us tonight, so I'm going to read a letter that he has written to all of our varsity scholars. Dear varsity scholars, the entire community of Wallingford salutes the singular personal achievement attached to each of your names tonight. Such academic excellence over 4 years of Lyman Hall High School attendance and instruction inspires everyone who knows you. We thank you for choosing learning to be a very high personal priority. The Varsity Scholar accolade defines each of you as people who can meaningfully contribute to the well-being of every person you meet. Congratulations and best wishes. Sincerely, Mayor William W. Dickinson, Jr. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Karen Levesque, our board chairperson.
Good evening. Greetings from the Wallingford Board of Education. My name is Karen Levesque, chairperson of the board. I would like to acknowledge the other Board of Education members. Mrs. Tammy Raccio, vice chairperson of the board, and the person recording this message at a safe social distance away with her son. Mr. Ray Ross, secretary of the board, Mrs. Autumn Allenson, Mrs. Kathy Castelli, Mrs. Erin Corso, Mrs. Patty Purcell, Mr. Patrick Reynolds, and Mr. Mike Lovato. It is a pleasure to be here to pay tribute to a group of Lyman Hall High School students now known as Varsity Scholars. To be eligible for recognition as a Varsity Scholar, a student must have earned a GPA of 3.9 or higher based upon completed coursework through the first semester of the senior year. Being named a Varsity Scholar is one of the highest academic honors bestowed upon a student at the high school. These students have taken our most rigorous courses, spent countless hours studying and researching. Out of necessity, they have had to develop extraordinary time management skills in order to balance academic pursuits and other activities. And all the while, they have maintained a truly remarkable grade point average. In addition to their academic pursuits, these busy, well-rounded students have also been involved in athletic activities, musical performances, and community service. I personally know the discipline and determination that it takes for a student to achieve this status. Since my daughter, a Lyman Hall High School alumna, was named a Varsity Scholar. I also realized that these students could not have attained their goal without the guidance and support of their parents and families, teachers, and administrators. Clearly, we are blessed in the Lyman Hall High School community and the Wallingford community at large with a number of bright and gifted students. You are a credit to yourselves, your families, and your school. On behalf of the Wallingford Board of Education, congratulations to the 2020 Lyman Hall High School Varsity Scholars. We are very proud of all of you. Please take care and stay well.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Mrs. Levesque, for that wonderful speech, and thank you to the Board of Education for all the support that you've offered the school and these students over the years. At this time, I would like to introduce Dr. Sal Menzo.
Good evening, this is Dr. Menzo, and I would like to extend my congratulations to the 2020 Lyman Hall High School Varsity Scholars. You have done a remarkable job over 4 years. Your academic achievement speaks for itself. Tonight, your teachers will speak on your behalf, and I am sure we will learn a lot about each and every one of you, more than maybe even your parents know. But until then, congratulations. You have done a wonderful job. You have made us proud. You have made yourselves proud. And again, this is only the first of many recognitions to come, I'm certain, for all of you in the future. I'd like to also congratulate your parents and your family members. They have been your support throughout the 4 years to make certain that your achievement today is and will be recognized and cherished for many, many years to come. So congratulations, enjoy the evening, stay safe, stay healthy, all the best.
Okay, so thank you, Dr. Menzo. Thank you to the, as I said, the Board of Education and our central office staff for being extremely supportive. And now to the night at hand, where we get to honor an amazing group of students here at Lyman Hall High School. So this year we have 32 varsity scholars, 32 students who have dedicated themselves to their academic endeavors for 4 years in a way that is really hard to capture in a very short speech, with everything that they're involved with, from sports to the musical to after-school clubs to leadership positions, 25,000 hours plus of community service as a class, as a senior class. All of these efforts in addition to their academic studies, and they have managed to compile one of the best academic records here at Lyman Hall High School. So we really are honored to be here tonight. We are honored to be able to listen to the speeches from our amazing faculty. This event is one of my favorite events every year. Watching the faculty get up there and discuss and talk about their students, knowing that the students are the ones that requested their presence at this meeting, is something that I consider very special. I know our students appreciate it. I know our faculty consider it an honor to be chosen. And I love to hear the different stories that these teachers will be speaking to on behalf of these students. So again, congratulations to all the families out there. I do appreciate everything you've done for these students. You know, it is definitely an effort that takes a village to get here. So we do appreciate it. So we're going to get right to the ceremony. This evening I will be joined by Mr. Daly and Mrs. Holt. We'll be taking turns up here introducing the next speaker and student. And we're going to get started. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Miss Sarah Sirkin, who will be speaking on behalf of Anthony Barilli.
Good evening, and congratulations to all the varsity scholars, their families, and their friends. I am sincerely honored and proud to be here speaking on behalf of Anthony Barilli. I have had the immense pleasure of getting to know Anthony over these last 2 years. Anthony exceeded my expectations of him last year in pre-calculus and continued to surprise and impress me this year in calculus. It has been fun watching Anthony as his skills have improved and his, dare I say, enjoyment for the subject has grown. While we were in school, he even made the habit of coming to see me in the mornings when he had late arrival. Now, while I like to think he just couldn't get enough of calculus, and part of it was because he just wanted to see me, I know the truth. He just needed to use my magic whiteboard tables. Maybe I was a little part of it, as he did like to ask me questions while he was there, but I really think it was the whiteboards. This point was driven home when we switched to distance learning, and I discovered that he actually created his own whiteboard table at home so he could do his work. Receiving those pictures helped keep a little of the classroom vibe alive, even at a distance. As a teacher, you always like to think you have an impact on your students. And I love that part of my influence has to do with the magic behind whiteboards. When I think of Anthony, there are 3 words that come to mind: delightful, marvelous, and fascinating. And while I would argue that all 3 of these words can describe Anthony, that is not usually why they come to mind when I think of him. Anthony likes to use these words frequently and in a way that is uniquely him. Everything is either delightful or fascinating, and when he is very pleased with the response, then it might be marvelous as well. Every time he uses one of these words, it makes me smile and helps remind me why I adore him. Anthony is his own person and is proud to own it. So many times, students who are strong academically feel that they cannot have interest or excel in non-academic fields. I love it that Anthony is open to anything and everything that comes his way. He will work just as hard and gain just as much enjoyment out of his AP courses as he does his auto or CAD classes. He will come with me to a puzzle competition, struggle but persevere through a challenging concept, problem solve, schedule a Pi Day event, help arrange things for class activities, be one of the first to volunteer to help out a friend, classmate, or teacher, and participate in a variety of activities both inside and outside of school. The best thing is, regardless of what he is doing, Anthony always has a smile on his face, is kind, thoughtful, respectful, one of the most polite people you will ever meet, and is someone I always look forward to seeing and am very proud to know. UConn is gaining a remarkable young man. Anthony, you are an incredible individual, one who is kind, caring, and will go so far. You are a problem solver, a team player, a leader, and I know you will not only do whatever you can to succeed, but you will do whatever you can to help those around you succeed as well. Congratulations on tonight, and thank you for asking me to share this night with you. I am very honored and proud to be here and look forward to hearing about all of your accomplishments and the amazing adventures you are sure to have. Congratulations.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Sirkin, and congratulations, Anthony, once again. Wonderful speech, a lot of fun, and we're going to keep this night moving. Next, we have Mrs. Samantha Provenzano, who will be speaking on behalf of Jillian Barron.
Anyone who knows Jillian Barron knows just how selfless and sweet she is. I was lucky enough to have the pleasure of teaching and coaching Jill during her time at Lyman Hall High School. The first things that come to mind when thinking of Jill are her insatiable positivity and her contagious smile. Jill has this ability to draw people in and make them feel welcome. A few moments speaking before all of you is not enough to truly encapsulate just how special Miss Jill is, but I will try my best to fit her greatness into this small speech. Many people, myself included, have been known to refer to Jill as Jilly Bean, which to me is perfect. While the nickname might conjure up images of the sweet treat coveted by children and adults alike, Jill actually embodies this moniker, which reveals more about Jill than most people realize. Jill is, without question, a jelly bean. She is sweet but has a tough outer core that on the tennis court is impenetrable. This jelly bean is without a doubt a gourmet brand name jelly bean and not a generic knockoff, which is a statement on her character as a friend, student, and overall individual. It would be difficult to pick exactly which flavor Jill would be if she were actually a jelly bean, but it would absolutely be one of the favorites. I can, however, say with absolute confidence that she is not the black licorice flavor, because everyone who meets Jill can easily see that she is compassionate, loyal, and driven, and does not make your face pucker. The same way it is difficult to only have one jelly bean, it is difficult to only choose one way that Jill is extraordinary in all that she sets her mind to. Tennis is an extremely mental sport, but not only does a player have to worry about the game that is occurring on the court, but she also has to worry about the game going on in her head. A tennis player can take herself out of a match in an instant with the wrong mentality, but not Jill. Jill is always level-headed both on and off the court. During one of her more difficult matches last season, Jill was faced with an opponent that was not so kind and not so honest. Playing a difficult opponent would be stressful enough for anyone, but add on top of that the fact that Jill was playing number one singles. Not once did Jill get upset or frustrated at herself or angry at her opponent. Instead, she would come talk to me at the fence and tell me what she needed to do to improve. I have never in all my years seen someone so sure of themselves, and it made me so proud to be her coach. Instead of my having to calm Jill down, we discussed a plan to use the match as an opportunity to improve her skill rather than to focus on winning the match. Jill's maturity in class is something I hope all young women embody. She might not have won the match that day, but she won for sure as a leader and a teammate. In class, Jill heightened the level of all class discussions. Jill would volley her ideas, yes, I had to make a tennis pun, with the other students with the same grace I saw her exhibit on the courts 1 year later. The rules of being successful in tennis are the same rules as being successful in life and in relationships. This is a mantra that I feel Jill unknowingly lives by. The style and grace she displayed in class and on the court without a doubt carried over into her relationships. Jill has had the same friend group since preschool. It is clear that Jill takes her relationships very seriously, as she does with all that she sets her mind to. Her loyalty is not something that she is boastful about, but rather just another thing that Jill is coy and modest about. Jill is not only modest about her present accomplishments, but she remains so about her future as well. Recently, I asked Jill what she hoped people remembered about her once she graduated. Her response was truly fitting. This question is a tough one because I don't like talking about myself. I hope people remember me as someone who was kind and sweet, but I also want people to remember me as a player on the Powder Puff team that beat the odds. Jill's care for others is something I think the world has just begun to experience. As she begins her journey toward a career in pathobiology, I know that she will research ways to help others the same way she has helped so many people around her experience what real happiness is. I am honored to have known Jillian Barron for the last 3 years. I know that her time at Lyman Hall High School is just the beginning of Jill showing the world what true determination, style, and grace are.
Thank you, Mrs. Provenzano, and again, congratulations, Jillian. I want to give a quick shout out to Marika Sagnelli and Evan Lucier, who this evening would not be possible without their support and help. They've spent the better part of the day today in the auditorium working through issues and getting our technology up and running. So I do appreciate all your support, Marika and Evan. We couldn't do it without you, so thank you very much. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Chuck Scalise to read on behalf of Ethan Bow.
Good evening. It is my absolute honor to speak to you tonight on behalf of Ethan Bow. Ethan, it is a great achievement and a testament to your intellect and hard work to be recognized as a varsity scholar here this evening. Congratulations to your parents as well. You have much to be proud of. Those of you who have had Ethan in class or corrected his papers know that Ethan is succinct, to say the least. In fact, if I truly wanted this speech to be reflective of Ethan's concise nature, I would have already ended it by now. However, I am unable to be as precise as Ethan with my words. As a history teacher, it is a given that a short answer will, come up short in really addressing the question. When Ethan would hand in an inevitable short response, I would assume I'd have to write, be specific or elaborate. But Ethan had this ability to capture the precise right answer in the fewest number of words humanly possible. I wanted to write elaborate, I wanted to write be more specific, but I couldn't because it was almost always exactly right. There is a word for this, laconic. It comes to us from an area in ancient Greece known as Laconia. It is an area where the ancient Spartans dwelled. The Spartans were well known for their proud military tradition, but also for their ability to say so much with so few words. In one story, Philip II of Macedon, in a verbose letter, demanded the Spartans submit without further delay. For if I bring my armies into your land, I will destroy your farms and slay your people and raze your city. The Spartans replied with only one word, if. Philip never conquered the Spartans. That simple word if conveyed so much that any further explanation or clarity was unnecessary. It conveyed strength, confidence, and a biting wit that revealed a sharp and capable intellect. While I'll stop short of drawing a full-blown analogy between Ethan and ancient Spartan warriors, I think his ability to be laconic, to convey so much with so few words, reveals so much about Ethan. Ethan's strength of character came through every day as I saw him interact with his friends and teachers. That confidence he had knowing that he can answer any follow-up question I pressed him on because he always put in the hard work and he always came prepared. That confidence, however, was tempered by his humble nature, but make no mistake, he is a fierce competitor. Ethan's wit is evident in his dry sense of humor and his unconventional observations. They reveal an impressive intellect. And much like the Spartans, Ethan lets his actions speak for himself. Ethan doesn't brag, he doesn't gloat, and in my experience, he can always be counted on to do what he says. Ethan does not have to say much for those around him to know what an incredible young man he truly is. As an ancient Greek philosopher once stated, he who knows how to speak also knows when. Next year, Ethan will study engineering at Lafayette College. This is a field where precision and brevity are appreciated. I know that Ethan will thrive next year and beyond as he takes these next steps in life. I also know he will do so in the most efficient way possible. Ethan, I wish you the best of luck, and I know that you will be a success in anything that you choose to do.
Thank you, Mr. Scalise, and again, congratulations, Ethan. Job well done. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Dean Dellavecchia to speak on behalf of Drew Bernard.
I have the privilege of speaking for Drew Bernard. Before I begin, Drew, I just wanted to acknowledge your love of aquaculture by doing this speech in front of the Quinnipiac River. Can I please have Drew and his parents come to the screen? They say that some people were meant to be born in the time that they were born. Who is they, you ask? Who cares? I just know they say it. Drew Bernard was meant to be a senior during this time. No, I'm not saying that he has really bad luck. I am saying that Lyman Hall needed Drew Bernard to have been part of this school at this particular time. I am not sure that he will remember this conversation, but there was a time when he was an underclassman where a major change happened for seniors. Although I can't remember what the change was, I do remember Drew saying that he felt really bad for the seniors. He knew change is inevitable, but he hoped that he doesn't have such drastic changes when he is a senior. He even said it seems that his class had the most changes out of all the classes. Now back then I probably told Drew that every class thinks they've had more broken traditions than any other class, and they thought it wasn't fair for their years and how other years got to do this or that. I would have gotten on my pedestal and told him that when things change, you have to find the good in change. He probably rolled his eyes, but it was in his mind because he would never roll his eyes at a teacher in real life, and moved on with his day. Well, I'm here to say, Drew, you were right. I was sure that he was just another whiny student complaining about broken traditions. There was no way that his class would win the pretend award for most changes throughout your schooling. Drew, you and your class win the award, and I'm sorry for doubting you. First, I want to acknowledge that Drew's contributions to the band are countless. Everything he has done with kindness, focus, attention, pride, strength of will, and the ability to listen. I have never ceased to be amazed at the things that Drew does without people really knowing about it. Drew never needed a teacher to tell him that he needed to embrace change and find the good in change. He is the definition of go with the flow. He does everything with a positive attitude. His wonderful parents, Joe and Lisa, may say otherwise, but I have never seen Drew get angry at anything. Sure, his perfectionist mentality does cause him to ask a lot of questions, but this personality trait also allows him to work with Papo and others to make the most out of this quarantine time. There's no challenge Drew cannot overcome, and his ability to listen to others' ideas and use them to create solutions has allowed the class of 2020 to make the most of one of the largest changes in education's history. Why is Drew meant to lead the school during this time? He has remarkably calm, focused, do-anything personality. Does Drew get frustrated? One will never know. Does Drew lose his cool? One will never know. Does Drew sleep? One will never know. Each morning, does Drew wake up at 4 a.m., drink a Rocky Balboa raw egg protein shake, bench press 350 pounds, run a marathon in under 2 hours while saving all stranded cats in his path, and then battle and defeat Chuck Norris in a mixed martial arts event all before coming to class? One will never know, but I wouldn't doubt it for the world. Thank you, Drew, for all you have contributed to Lyman Hall. Congratulations on your achievement for Varsity Scholar, and I can't wait to have you as a fellow band director.
Thank you, Mr. Dellavecchia. That was wonderful. And congratulations, Drew, for all your accomplishments. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Casey Dalzin, who will be speaking on behalf of Haley Bruneau.
Intellectual, dedicated, determined, hardworking, ingenious. Haley, these are but a few of your strengths. In class, you display a genuine curiosity and a desire to learn all you can. You strive to maintain the highest level of achievement, putting forth nothing less than your best in everything you do, academics, sports, family, and more. As you strive to conquer new challenges and achieve new successes, keep in mind the lessons you've learned through your journey at Lyman Hall. First, never lose your sense of humor. I've enjoyed several things about being your school mom these past years, but perhaps none more than your unique sense of humor. Whether working in the animal lab, grooming dogs, completing an experiment, trading dad jokes and puns, or just listening to meows that would randomly float unexpectedly through our Ag 216 classroom, I was appreciative of all the laughs and smiles which having you in my class created. Next, follow your passions wherever they may lead you and focus on your journey. Whether persuading your parents to let you get Cornelius, a leopard gecko with a fabulous name, by the way, junior year, or the massive and impressive collection of succulents you've propagated as part of your SAE project, earning the Game Day Dirty Sock Award during Powder Puff, being recognized as an SAC Scholar Athlete, or signing to play for Rochester's basketball team this coming fall, you have proven to be a determined young woman with a serious work ethic. You have a passion for learning and are a master of time management. If you continue to keep focused on your goals and ambitions, you will accomplish success as you see it. Do or do not, there is no try. Set your goals and take action. While many have seen your ability to take action on the courts as captain of the Lyman Hall basketball and volleyball teams, one of the best traits about you is your ability to take actions based on your own motivation and ingenuity. You are a designer and inventor at your core, and I'm not sure how many people know that about you. Whether designing 3D printed masks for your mom to wear at work, or the smaller version you adapted for your neighbor's toddler recently, or 3D projects printed from the LH Makerspace, to the college apparel shirt you designed and made for your mom for Mother's Day, your creativity shines. Many people are creative, but you take action and follow through on your ideas. This will serve you well in everything you do.
And finally, embrace the now. If you want to be happy, don't dwell in the past. And don't worry about the future. Focus on living fully in the present. Cherish every experience life has to offer. Remember that in this moment, there is plenty of time. In this moment, you are precisely as you should be. I'm so proud of you, Haley, and all that you've accomplished. I know you'll continue to be a success beyond our walls. For in this moment, and each moment that passes, you will always possess infinite possibility. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mrs. Dalzin. And congratulations, Haley. Job well done. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Horton, who will be speaking on behalf of Alyssa Carbuti.
In writing, there's a magical thing called voice. Nobody is sure exactly what it means, and the stubborn old English teacher I used to work with would rant about how it was just a vague, romanticized word for style. But I like to play an abstraction, and so does Allie Carbuti. You see, at the end of last summer, I got 2 emails from Allie. One of them asked me what careers she might get into as a writer, future English teacher, and one asked me to wear her Powder Puff jersey. In answer to the first, I told her to stop by so we could discuss it in person because a future in writing is more complicated than the meaning of the term voice. Per Coach Brewster, I answered her second email with the official Powder Puff jersey policy. A student, even a student as organized and hardworking as she is, cannot ask a teacher to wear their jersey until they both set foot on Lyman Hall grounds on the first day of school. So Allie, being Allie of the traits previously mentioned, was waiting for me in the parking lot on the first day of school, but I was a little later than usual that morning. When I got out of my car, there was a text from Mrs. Kennedy. Allie Carbuti is trying to find you to ask you to wear her jersey. Rounding the corner toward my room, I saw her almost running from the Sea Hall ramp. Slightly out of breath, she asked me to wear her jersey. I accepted, and Allie looked at me with a face of realization. Now I have to go to first period, she said, and I feel like a complete idiot for stalking you. It may sound weird, but it was in that moment that I saw Allie's voice truly beginning. I'd seen glimpses of it growing in her writing in AP Lang. She wrote a paper early in the year about traveling through Europe to comment on American exceptionalism, and I could tell that she was what you might call an old soul. Her observations about the world were very insightful, and her writing was developing, and because of her work ethic, she came to see me for extra help to find her voice. Her thorough essay was a highlight for similar reasons. It had a perceptive comment on children, how they are not as perfect as we like to think, but also how in that imperfection they can very much be themselves. Here her voice was almost there. But what she showed me that morning, running through the halls, holding back the self-reflection that she was being an idiot, was something more. It was a willingness to fully engage, something you almost need to do if you want to write. Making a living as a writer is not always easy. I told Allie as much about a month ago in a Google Meet. We unfortunately never got a chance to meet in person, but being the hardworking young woman she is, she immediately agreed to a virtual discussion. As I listed the challenges a writer faces compared to the beautifully frustrating benefits, Allie studiously wrote notes and asked questions. That's when I remembered the first day of senior year, and something about the word voice started to make sense. The rebuttal to that old stubborn English teacher finally became clear in the judicious young student on the computer screen in front of me. Voice isn't magical or romantic. It's about engagement, perseverance, and working tirelessly until you find it. I'll never say that any of my students will become famous writers. Don't worry, I already mentioned this to her. But because of the young woman Allie already is and the writer she continues to grow into, I do think more people will end up hearing her voice.
Thank you, Mr. Horton. That won't be the last time you hear from Mr. Horton tonight. And congratulations, Alyssa. Nice job. Mr. Horton will be speaking again immediately following right now on behalf of Leah Chiaffi, this year's valedictorian. And as I leave and step down, Mr. Daly will come up and do the next few. So Mr. Daly will be doing the announcement moving forward. Thank you.
I may be the only teacher who knows how to strike fear in the eyes of the indomitable Leah Chiaffi. Yes, I know how to scare one of the best students I've ever had, maybe one of the best students Lyman Hall has ever seen. I can make the girl who got into Harvard and Yale tremble like a kindergartner on her first day of school. It's actually pretty easy, just ask her to write a poem. It's true, Leah Chiaffi and her string of A-pluses is morbidly afraid of writing poetry, whether it be haiku, sonnet, possibly even acrostic. This phobia came to light halfway through junior year during the modernism unit in AP Lang. Leah had already established herself as one of my best students. Several of her essays had been projected to the class as models, and she almost always set the curve on the practice AP multiple choice. But when I asked the class to write a poem mimicking Ezra Pound's In a Station at the Metro, Leah let out an audible gasp. Mr. Horton, she whined. Yes, Leah whines. I hate writing poems, but because she is the student she is, she still did it. Later, when asked to write her own version of 13 Ways of Looking at a Blackbird, Leah asked if she could just do one way of looking at something. I figured she was trying to get out of writing a whole poem, but because it was Leah, I said fine. Then, with an actual smile on her face, she shared her creation entitled One Way of Looking at the Sun. It was a beautifully written two-word poem contracted down to a simple don't, written in big letters in the middle of the page. I laughed, realizing I shouldn't have doubted her in the first place, and Leah was proud of herself. She had done something creative. That's where her fear derives, from that word creativity, or at least the simplified conception of that word she had come to believe. She had written an essay early in the year in response to an AP synthesis about individuality and conformity in public education. Leah wrote a critique of herself, claiming that she was not actually as smart as people thought she was. She suggested that she was just very good at doing whatever people told her to do, like writing poems. She didn't even take credit for the essay she was writing, claiming that she only wrote it creatively because her English teacher made her. What Leah did not realize is that true creativity is not about randomness, splashes of paint from a child's brush. True creativity is about purpose. It is about writing an essay where you begin thinking for yourself. On her final essay, she pushed even further and chose to write about creativity. She took a word that had come to mean quirky and eccentric, a student doodling in their notebook, and reclaimed it for hardworking, academically minded students like her whose diligence leads to independent thinking. An original idea on a rhetorical analysis, a new way to solve a math problem, connecting seemingly distant historical events were all creative in Leah's conception, and it was hard to disagree with such a creatively constructive response. Leah Chiaffi is one of the best students I've ever had, but I got to see something more than her just being a student. I saw her embrace her creativity, a logical and analytical creativity, and become a true independent thinking academic. While she may never become a poet, she became a real creative type, one beyond cliche, one who searches for the true meaning of purposeful creation, and one who will excel at Yale or Harvard or wherever she wants to continue this pursuit.
Hi, everyone. First, a quick congratulations to all the varsity scholars. Going back to when I was a teacher here at Lyman Hall, this is one of my favorite nights of the year. So I really appreciate your efforts, also those of your parents and especially your teachers. So I'll be introducing the next few speakers. The first is Mr. Ken Parcella, who will be speaking on behalf of Ethan Cohen.
Good evening. Like all the students we are honoring tonight, Ethan Cohen thrives in the classroom. He has challenged himself with the most difficult courses we offer in math and science and has dominated and destroyed them all. In honors pre-calculus, his ability to quickly master the objectives of each lesson and make connections between math concepts is up there with the top students that I have ever encountered. But what I will remember most about Ethan in the classroom is his ability to develop alternate approaches to problems that were not presented in the lesson. Now, we all know that math problems can be solved multiple ways, and Ethan would usually come up with a method that I did not deliver in the lesson, but I had seen before. But every so often, Ethan would come up with a way to approach a problem that I had never seen before in my 14 years of teaching pre-calculus. I would occasionally and humbly have to ask Mr. Schmidt if Ethan's approach was viable, just to double check. And 9 times out of 10, it was. I guess the other thing I will always remember about Ethan is something only juniors and seniors who have been enrolled in my class would understand. About 9 or 10 years ago, a senior in my class told me that he was good at ping pong. And with my aforementioned humility, I told him that I would dominate and destroy him in ping pong. And at the senior outing that year, I did. Since then, for some reason, every year someone challenges me in ping pong. Of course, the reason why I'm telling you this is Ethan was my challenger this year. He is 100% confident that he will defeat me, and for the first time in years, don't tell him, I am worried. Now, obviously, we haven't been able to settle this on the court, table, this year, yet. No matter what happens, if we play or not, if I win, or if I win by a lot, Ethan Cohen is exactly what you want your child to grow up to be: motivated, confident, and just a great human being. Congratulations, Ethan. You have already won.
Thank you, Mr. Parcello, and congratulations to Ethan. Our next speaker tonight will be Mr. Mario Panone, speaking on behalf of Luke Chernowski.
It is my great pleasure to speak to you on behalf of Luke Czerniewski. He was a student in my AP World History class his sophomore year. When I received Luke's request for Varsity Scholars, I was of course extremely honored, not least because this very bright young man thought well enough of our time together, though he is destined for a future in the realm of science. It also brought a smirk to my face, as I remembered some of the discourse we had engaged in. Then, as if to taunt me, in true Luke fashion, I received the following email. Yo, Panone, I was just informed by Corso that you have a reputation for making the speech into a roast of whoever you're speaking for, so I'm greatly anticipating that, although there's nothing you could possibly roast me for. No, Luke, I obviously could never roast you. What could I possibly say that would tarnish your reputation? I wouldn't think that your frequent use of yo, your casual confessing as you're walking out of my room to not having done my work, but informing me you would hand it in whenever you were done, holding court in the back of my room while periodically offering your thoughts on my whack deadlines, referring to me as M-Dog, or humbly petitioning to go on a field trip, watch a movie, go outside, or perform literally any activity other than covering the material I had planned, would paint a different picture other than the one people have of you already. We already know that you are a rather serious student who possesses incredible ability and that you have an edge to your personality. It is seen in your wit and sense of humor, which you wield in an appropriate fashion, reminding us that no matter how forceful the world pressures us into the bounds of arid maturity and staggering responsibilities, it is still within our power to sit back and chuckle at the whole thing. Luke, I wish you all the best as you move forward. You will enjoy success, but I ask you, never lose that edge. You will need it. Thank you.
Well done, Mr. Panone, and well done, Luke. Our next speaker, we have Mr. Horton returning. He will be speaking on behalf of Jocelyn Dell.
You could put a pile of random nameless essays in front of me right now, and I could find Jocelyn Dell's within a few minutes. A few choice words would make it obvious. With feminist lens, I would know I was onto something. Then from gender, things would be getting warm. And once I saw the word privilege, ding, 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 I would have my winner. Of course, there would be something more to Jocelyn's essay. The larger debate about going too far down the victimhood road has some solid points, and many young people in our country are possibly throwing around words without themselves understanding what it means to label things. But Jocelyn knows she has to earn the right to use her words properly. And because of this, her essay would include an insight not often seen in those her age. It would have the enthusiasm and the humility that comes with knowing that these are ideas still being forged. And it would have an understanding that these words can't just be tossed around as if they were simply of the present moment. Our current culture is inattentively deleting the past, but Jocelyn Dell knows that to fix tomorrow, she must understand yesterday. I remember her waiting after class, and this happened more than once, waiting for the last student to filter out before she would look up at me. Mr. Horton, have you ever read William Faulkner? The author was always different, spanning literary history from Austen to Hemingway, but her face was always the same. She literarily seemed to light up. I'm serious. Talking about great authors from the past makes Jocelyn Dell's face glow. And her eyes would focus more, like the potential to gain more knowledge held the meaning behind everything, and she wouldn't pretend that she understood what she was talking about or what she was reading to make me think she was smart. She was staying after class because Faulkner was an important voice from the past, one that she didn't quite understand yet, but one she knew she needed to confront if she wants to ever help the world move forward. That's the other thing about Jocelyn that you cannot completely tell just from reading an essay, although the depth of her thinking is a nice hint. She's not sprinkling contentious language around and walking away like the issue has been solved by some half-hearted rhetoric. She is doing what she needs to do to understand and improve the issue. Consider how she spent last summer. Some high school kids go to sleepaway camp, some sleep until the afternoon. Jocelyn went to Washington, D.C. to be part of the ACLU Summer Advocacy Institute. By the end of the summer, she was marching around the reflecting pool protesting, maybe not for the cause she feels the most about, but still preparing herself. If you want to see that glow I referred to before, ask her about that moment. She would almost call it the completion of her life's work if she didn't have so much more to do. Some would argue that teenagers have it easy these days, that their opinions are listened to without much debate, and that they are given choices allowing them to disengage from history. But Jocelyn is not allowing herself to be coddled into a present that suddenly breaks itself off from the past. She is also not resting on false praise. Jocelyn Dell is informing herself and acting on the information she gets, and she is loving every enlightening second of it.
Thank you, Mr. Horton, and congratulations to Jocelyn. Continuing the Horton and Pannone segment of our evening, we've got Mr. Pannone coming back, and he will speak on behalf of Carolina Draghi.
It is my great honor to speak to you on behalf of Carolina Draghi. Carolina was a student in my AP World History class her sophomore year. It is at this moment that I know she is wondering in which direction I will go with my speech. She gets rather nervous about these things, so I think I will provide as genuine a composite picture as I can without getting too melodramatic. First, I will say that Carolina is serious about her studies and works hard to earn her academic success. She is incredibly honest not only about what she thought about my assignments, but in her own self-assessment of her strengths and weaknesses. This may sound like a clever way of saying that she often decided to settle, but that is not the whole story. If there was something Carolina was struggling with and upset about, some simple motivation and justified praise was all it took for her to return to the grindstone. She did very well. Apart from the academic features of her life, I learned a great deal about Carolina from that year going forward. It seemed that Carolina always wore her emotions on her sleeve, so it took no skill at all on my part to decipher when she was elated or otherwise. As most teachers do, I spend some time and effort getting to know my students, so I decided to ask her about her mood the next time it was easily noticeable. She did not need me to open the door all the way. She freely expressed what was on her mind. Everything. It stopped me from asking the class, "How was your weekend?" for quite some time. Over the years, Carolina has come to see me with a grand variety of issues, and at first I was an intent listener. Very quickly, however, I discovered, or was told, actually, that my job was to offer advice or otherwise provide clarity on some topic that had engrossed a teenage girl. I assure you, I was as frightened then as you are listening to this right now. We had some terrific discussions, and I continued to feel humbled by her request for my thoughts. Carolina, you are an intelligent, funny, kind, and good natured person. I wish you nothing but the best.
Thanks again, Mr. Pernone, and congratulations to Carolina. Next up is Alexis Eaton, and Jeff Horton will be speaking on her behalf.
I had expected Alexis in that office hours, and not just because she had diligently emailed me. No, I knew she was coming because I had just returned the first writing assignment, and Alexis had received an A-. Having had her for 2 years in advisory, having reviewed her grades with her several times, having chastised her for doing too well, often all A+, sometimes over 100%, I knew that an A- was unacceptable. She stood at the door, waiting, politely, anxiously ready with her laptop to improve. I gave her a few revisions and happily changed the A- to an A. I was not surprised when Alexis showed up after school, laptop again at the ready, wondering how she could improve even more. I gave her a few edits and off she went. Sitting over the current draft, I almost gave it a 98. That odd English teacher pride that no written piece is perfect, preventing the 100%, but I knew Alexis would come back until she got there, and I knew we had most of the year left, so I relented and gave her the grade she already deserved. It is too easy to misinterpret the above anecdote and classify Alexis as another driven AP student. Too easy to apply the A word I've come to dread, ambition, and assume she was only there to get her A. That seems to be what ambition has been boiled down to in modern education, and it would be all too easy and too unfair to Alexis, the complex young woman I've come to almost fully know, to label her. Let me squeeze in as many anecdotes as possible to demonstrate how much more Alexis is. Assuming a student like her was taking all possible AP courses, I once asked her how APUSH was going, but she had decided not to take it. I wanted to focus on the 2 AP courses I decided to sign up for, she said. I was very glad she chose mine. Then, during class discussions, she was always involved, pushing for the most complex response possible, but when other students spoke, she would always turn and nod in appreciation. There was also the satire she made, where she created a map of the United States, and every state was a thoughtfully selected hand-cut image. Taken all together, they made an insightful comment on the current state of our country. I'll let you guess what Alexis thinks. Oh, and I can't forget her final project, the one where she constructed a photo bulletin board with pictures portraying the normal teen life, but behind each picture there was a small note representing a teen's true feelings. There was the in-class essay she wrote about sitting with and in defending another student being mocked for sitting alone at lunch, and the other in-class essay where she discussed a friend's mental health issues. This all doesn't include my favorite, her Thoreau essay. Alexis wrote about a visit to her aunt's house in Montana, juxtaposing her busy life in Wallingford with the ability she found to unplug there. She said she dreamed of to possibly live that life. But I don't think Alexis can fully live that life because Alexis is ambitious. See, she taught me something that removed the coarseness from the term, so I'm no longer afraid to call her that. She reminded me what the word used to mean, the meaning we attribute to mythical figures like Thoreau. She's deliberate in her hard work, and not just as a student, but as a person. Alexis is ambitious not because she wants to get an A, but because she wants to improve herself. She wants to improve herself not so she will be recognized in 3-minute videos that cannot hold all she should be recognized for, but because she wants to improve the world. She's been a positive influence in the teenage world, a nearly impossible task for a modern teen, and she will undoubtedly be a positive influence on the real world.
Thanks, Mr. Horton, and well done, Alexis. Our next speaker is Mr. Boyd Johnson, who will be speaking on behalf of Brian Fernando.
Good evening. It is my honor to present Brian Fernando as a 2020 Varsity Scholar. I had the pleasure of meeting Brian during his sophomore year in the Lyman Hall Computer Club, and then having Brian as a student in AP Statistics. Brian is a highly motivated, intelligent, and thoughtful young man. I knew Brian had a great analytical mind, when he easily absorbed any computer knowledge during our computer club meetings during his sophomore year. His great sense of humor was also evident as he acclimated to a diverse group of members, all with different personalities and interests. His kindness and respect for all was evident during all our interactions throughout his sophomore year. I knew Brian was a good student when he complimented me on a difficult question that I had placed on an AP statistics test during his junior year. His simple quote, "I like that question," in his humble and quiet voice made me try to challenge him to push his academic achievement. If he continues with this type of thirst of academic challenges, coupled with his outgoing personality and scholastic aptitude, he will not only flourish in college, but also in life. I knew Brian would be a great future leader when I observed his social development in his senior year. Through our interactions in the computer club and his occasionally dropping into one of my classes, I observed Brian as a more socially confident young man that kept his great sense of humor and humility. Put it simply, it has been a pleasure being associated with Brian Fernando. Brian possesses the personality, intelligence, and drive to make him successful in any future goals beyond Lyman Hall High School. I look forward to hearing of his future successes. I hope he continues to stay in touch and share some ideas from his future college experiences, where he undoubtedly will extend his statistical and computer knowledge in pursuit of a degree in data science. Thank you for making me part of this special evening. I wish you the best in the years to come.
Thanks, Mr. Johnson, and congratulations to Brian. Next up, we have Ryan Gatto. Speaking on his behalf is Elizabeth Sturdivant.
When Ryan asked me to write a speech for him, this was the very first time that I had such a task on my hands, and a mixed feeling of utter excitement, horror, and unprecedented responsibility entered my mind. But that is what Ryan Gatto is all about. I have known him for 4 years, and throughout this time, I have a continuous wow feeling accompanying me. I met Ryan in my U.S. government and politics class, a quiet and studious young man, the kind of student you see and think for yourself, oh, thank God, this should be easy. Easy because he's listening, easy because he's thinking, easy because he's always ready for work. All of us have a dream to have a good couple dozen of them in our classes. It was a comforting, familiar feeling until Ryan wrote an essay, an amazing, thoughtful, mature analysis of 18 or 30 or 100 pages. I do not remember now, but who does this to a teacher? And there it was, the sense of wow that Ryan continued to invoke in me for the next 4 years. Confucius once said, "The superior man is modest in his speech, but exceeds in his actions." A good quote for our Ryan. A man of few words, he's always a man of much action. When Ryan approached me to help out with the international celebration, as I was frantically trying to get a little dollop of support, I asked him what he could do. His words were, "Whatever is needed." From there on, Ryan became a constant participant at the international celebration and later an international club member, always there to help with any chore or task. Ryan is the kind of person that you can rely on without worrying and checking upon. You know the work will be done. Last year, he asked me to help him with a political club. He assured me that they just needed a room and required supervision, and the rest of the work he would be taken care of. Sitting in my classroom working on my papers, I was curiously observing the club in action. It was an amazing group of mature, passionate young men and women who were fascinated and concerned about the political turbulence in the contemporary US and the world. I experienced that wowed feeling again. My fellow teachers are familiar with that sensation when one has to inspire but ultimately put together and organize the entire process. Here, I saw the students doing everything by themselves in a most educated and professional manner. Many a time as I was supervising the sessions, I had to restrain myself from jumping into those discussions. Wow, was it interesting and exciting. Ryan's future plans lie with nuclear and cell biology and virology. Very soon, his inspirations will be among the geniuses of Antony van Leeuwenhoek, Louis Pasteur, and Robert Koch. 7 or 8 years ago, though, it was the world of another Koch family that was capturing the mind of young Ryan, the world of politics and political science. It's in high school, Ryan confessed, that although continuing to have interest in the world of politics, he realized that he could truly make a difference and bring greater change to people's lives through his research of practical application in public health. May I remind you, it was I who introduced Ryan to the miraculous and treacherous academic study of American politics. One wonders if it was my zealous effort that turned Ryan away from politics and determined his endeavor toward the world of science. I pray not. Nowadays, the wise say that the future is going to be in the hands of doctors and scientists. As our world has been exposed to uncertainty and the affliction of a pandemic, we're looking for knowledge and integrity of those who will dedicate their lives to preserve and improve ours. I'm very happy that mine will depend on the work of my wonderful student, Ryan Gatto, who I have no doubt will continue to surprise the world with his modesty, dedication, maturity, inspiration, and great talent. Thank you.
Nicely done, Ryan, and thanks to Mrs. Sturdivant. Next, we have Mr. Pannone returning. He is now going to speak on behalf of Laurel Geist.
It is my sincere pleasure to speak to you on behalf of Laurel Geist. Laurel spent a year of quiet solitude in my AP World History class her sophomore year. While this is not remarkable in itself, it is worth noting that as she had decided to not utter a syllable while class was in session, she decided to do it while sitting in the very front of the class, in the seat closest to my desk. Was this young lady really so courteous and shy that she just wanted to make sure to be in an optimal seat for note-taking? Was it a provocation? It did not take long for me to realize that Laurel was not acting out in a way that would subvert the classroom environment. Her grades were very good, her writing exceptional, her ample notes in proper order, her test grades excellent. In other words, she was just a quiet student. I even stopped calling on her, as she would often flash a grim look of horror upon hearing her name. As the year went on, however, Laurel did find it easier to speak in my classroom. The only issue was that class could not be in session. As long as it was before or after class, Laurel initiated conversations about a variety of topics. This obviously intelligent and hardworking young lady spoke about other areas of her life that were important to her: her family, her faith, and music. I also discovered that she sat next to some friends in my class, which I must admit moved me to think her willpower to be superhuman. For the next 2 years, Laurel was a presence in my room, visiting almost daily with her friends to relax before class and talk about things that were going on. She had become, dare I say, almost bubbly. That being said, I had noticed that on many occasions that Laurel possesses a kindness and a compassion that her friends routinely appreciated and admired. Laurel, you are a motivated, grounded, and intelligent person. There are times in life when silence is necessary, but from what I can tell, the world could stand to hear more from people like you. I wish you all the best.
Congratulations to Laurel. It's always tough to follow Mr. Pannone, and thankfully the next person up is also Mr. Pannone. He'll be speaking now on behalf of Caitlin Goyuk.
It is my distinct honor to speak for Caitlin Goyuk. Caitlin was a student in my AP World History class her sophomore year, and she will never let me forget it. Not only is Caitlin a thinker, but she is also an articulate critic of a great number of issues that afflict daily life, one including myself, if I can recall correctly some of her statements regarding my tests and assignments. That Caitlin is intelligent, there can be no doubt. Her immense strength is her extraordinary ability to take a piece of content, extend it out through all possible scenarios, evaluate the ramifications that emerge, assess how they affect those involved, and provide an opinion about potential solutions. As a recipient of many of these opinions, I can tell you that this is not just a case of someone who can play worst case scenario really well, though I imagine she would win at that game. Caitlin possesses a deep concern not only for righting wrongs, but to create better options for others so that they may achieve success. This is no game to her. As someone who has visited my room regularly in the past 2 years, Caitlin has demonstrated a profound sense of understanding and empathy when speaking about what was irritating her that day, or when she was trying to help a friend through some issue. She also has a sensational sense of humor that is often brushed with rich sarcasm, as when I asked her one day last year why she was writing math formula, of all things, on my board before class. She responded with, "Oh, be quiet, you know that this is important." I erased the board in silence after she left, smiling while my new students entered. Opinion noted. Caitlin, you are a curious, enthusiastic, intelligent, and compassionate person. I know you will do great things in the future. And please remember, whatever situation you are in, those involved need to hear your opinion and your plan. Best of luck to you.
Congratulations to Caitlin. Next up, we have Mrs. Emily Picard, who will be speaking on behalf of Piper Killen, and then Ms. Holt will join us up here to introduce the next set of speakers.
Piper Killen is the best friend you hope your daughter has when she grows up. She's a leader, a kind heart, a friendly smile, an attentive listener, an incredibly hard worker, a thoughtful daughter and sister, and overall, a remarkable person. Everyone who knows Piper has had their life made better by her presence. Luckily for Lyman Hall, that's been a lot of people. She's the captain of the field hockey team, the president of Best Buddies, a unified sports coach, president of the Students Against Destructive Decisions group, a class representative, student advisor on the student council, secretary of the Key Club, president of the Technology Student Association, and a student in the Ag Science program. These titles may seem superfluous, however, Piper cares deeply for each of these organizations and the people in them. Obviously, she's an academically talented person, but it is her caring personality that will aid her most in her future endeavors. I can imagine her sitting at home right now in an awesome outfit, not dwelling on the fact that this ceremony couldn't be completed in person, but rejoicing and celebrating in her and her peers' accomplishments. She always has a positive point to end on and an ear for those that may not. I know all of us who know Piper are extremely proud of her achievements and wish her the best of luck in her future endeavors. Piper, I will miss having you in class, your jousting matches, and your stories. I cannot wait to hear about where your journey leads you, and I'm so excited for those who have yet to meet you. I hope others will be inspired to be more like you, a caring friend, an environmentalist, a critical thinker, and a friend to the bees. Congratulations on becoming a varsity scholar. Good luck.
Good evening, everyone. Congratulations again to all the varsity scholars tonight. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mrs. Sharp, who will be speaking on behalf of Haley Koval.
Good evening, Haley and Mr. and Mrs. Koval, and to everyone, and congratulations to all the varsity scholars. Haley, I've got something special for you. I've got gadgets and gizmos aplenty. I've got who's its and what's its galore. You want a thingamabob? I've got 20. But who cares? I want more. Yes, to me that is Haley, a young lady who wants more. A young lady who entered my classroom 4 years ago to take my art foundation class. I remember how extremely quiet and shy Haley was, how she was afraid to raise her hand and spoke only when she was spoken to. Then something happened. Haley re-entered my classroom in her junior year to study advanced photography. This is when I was seeing a young student who held many interests and was beginning to think outside of the box. Haley still wasn't vocal about what was going on in her mind, but there was something there I was seeing that I hadn't seen before. As assignments were handed out, this is when I was beginning to see the real Haley. Haley to me has a mind that can't get enough of what surrounds her. She wants more, just like Ariel states in her Little Mermaid song. Her curiosity about things and how to approach topics were not ordinary. They were complex. They were deep. I was seeing something I had not seen in a long time, or at least not at this level. While she was in my photography class, I would ask students to create a photojournal. Haley presented to me a journal of photos that were deep with observation, held meanings I wasn't sure I even understood. Taking black and white photos offers the photographer a chance to see the real beauty in a subject. Haley found the beauty in her subjects while experimenting with different techniques, which brings me to this year and using the word experimenting with techniques. Haley originally was scheduled to have a study hall. Instead, she opted to do an independent study during a craft class I was teaching. I thought maybe she wanted to do some crafts, but no. Haley had other ideas in mind, which included creating a brain. Yes, a brain. The funny thing is, I think I was surprised her when I said I had a brain mold. I think this is when I was beginning to see a younger version of myself. Haley pondered as to what material she could use. Here was that critical thinking I mentioned, or as I like to refer to Haley as a mad scientist. Just a note, Haley, I had to do a lot of explaining as to why I had a brain in my room and for what. Then we move on to the analytical Haley. Haley wanted to build a carousel. I thought it was cool, but also challenging because it required working gears, creativity of characters who would be on display. You know, the typical one you see at an amusement park. Wrong. Haley has a passion for the film Pirates of the Caribbean, and yes, we're back to the sea. Haley created a carousel which involved an octopus as the main focal point, its arms to hold its miniature passengers. The exterior was made of an opaque material, so the interior lights would create shadows, create an eerie carousel. The ingenuity and creativity was phenomenal on this endeavor. Haley said at one point, it wasn't all her idea. I beg to differ. Creativity is built upon ideas we're exposed to, and then we take them further. Haley, between your amazing mind and your parents who most likely didn't squelch your creativity when you were growing up, instead they fostered it because they could see a brilliant, creative young woman developing. Haley, I have seen you perform on the stage, participate in concerts, create amazing projects in class, listen to your thoughts about life, people, felt your frustrations, laughed with you, you laughed at me, and rightfully so. Our journey has been one I shall never forget, and only wish we were standing together at this well-deserved event for you and your classmates. I'm wishing you all the best and looking forward to hearing and seeing all your successes you will have. I will miss you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Sharp, and congratulations, Haley. At this time, we're going to have Mrs. Mary Ellen Pettit speak on behalf of Erin Lamb.
Good evening. My name is Mary Ellen Pettit. I am a health technology teacher for Wallingford Public Schools. First of all, I'd like to congratulate all of the Lyman Hall Varsity Scholars of 2020. Well done. And congratulate your parents. Students, please remember to thank your parents. It took a lot of support to get you here. Tonight, I have the honor of being here for Erin Lamb. I had the pleasure of being Erin's teacher, in both medical careers and CNA. Erin truly is a pleasure to have in class. She is a teacher's dream. She is thoughtful, contemplative, kind, and respectful. Some may think of Erin as the quiet girl in the back. Don't let that placid exterior fool you. Erin does not miss a thing. She is always on point and perceptive. She may walk softly, but she certainly carries a big intellect and a big heart. When Erin speaks, we know to listen. In addition to intellect and disposition, Erin has the work ethic to turn her dreams into reality. To name only a few of Erin's activities and accomplishments at Lyman Hall, she's been on the honor roll. She's in National Honor Society. She's received the Academic Excellence Award for Latin 3. She passed the Certified Nursing Assistant exam with flying colors. She's a varsity letterer in field hockey and on the all-academic field hockey team. She's received the Gold Presidential Volunteer Award and the Academic Excellence Award for Algebra 2. In addition, she was certified as a Youth Mental Health First Aid Responder. She received the Academic Excellence Award for Geometry. She's a member of the Lyman Hall girls field hockey team, Lyman Hall girls tennis team. She's the manager, team leader of Unified Sports, member of the student council, an advisory representative, member historian, secretary of the Key Club, member of Mock Trial, and a member of Gannon Basketball League. Quite honestly, I'm tired just listing all of Erin's achievements. In the fall, Erin will be attending Colby Sawyer College in New Hampshire to major in nursing. I have no doubt that Erin will go far. Everyone should remember this wonderful young lady. She will be the nurse that you will want to see when you are waking up from surgery. She will be the nurse that you will want taking care of your children and your parents. She is the package. She is smart, empathetic, and responsible. Erin, I look forward to hearing about all of your achievements, both in college and in life. Please keep in touch and know that you have left a thoughtful imprint on me, your classmates, your teammates, and your patients. You are a wonderful young lady, and I wish you all of the best. Remember, stay in touch. Congratulations, Erin. Well done.
Thank you, Mrs. Pettit, and congratulations, Erin. So at this time, we have two shout-outs. So thank you so much to Lori Folk Barron, who says, shout out to all the varsity scholars and special congrats to Jillian Barron. And then for Miss Dalzin, shout out to all the Lyman Hall varsity scholars, especially those ag science and powder puff players. We are all so proud of you. So at this time, we'll have Laura Bauer speak on behalf of Lacey Lowe.
Good evening. I'm Laura Bauer. I teach Italian here at Lyman Hall. Tonight I'm here to speak on behalf of one of the nicest young ladies that I've had the pleasure to teach, Lacey Lowe. Lacey, I'm delighted and honored that you chose me to speak on your behalf tonight. I consider it a privilege to have had the opportunity to talk about such a wonderful young woman. I'm very proud of you. And I'm proud to have been your teacher for over the past 3 years. Mr. and Mrs. Lowe, I'd also like to congratulate you this evening because Lacey's success starts with you. You've raised your daughter to be kind, honest, and hardworking. You have given her all the tools she needs to succeed in life. In class, Lacey's a model student. Every assignment, every project is done with care and always above expectations. She puts forth her best effort into everything she does. I met Lacey 3 years ago when I took over the Italian program at Lyman. Lacey made my transition from Spanish teacher to Italian teacher easy. I saw Lacey as a soft-spoken, shy young woman. As the years went on and I got to know Lacey and her personality started to bloom, her creative side started to show. She talks about her love of dancing. She's a talented artist. This school year showed me the creative side of Lacey when she came to class with the pretty pink hair. I love that she's coming into herself and allowing her creative side to show. She tells me she's going to attend Central Connecticut State University and to major in biomolecular science with a minor in dance. That's perfect. I was not surprised at all. This is exactly who she is, smart and artistic. These two areas of study sum up Lacey perfectly. Lacey is driven, dedicated, devoted to succeed, but never at the expense of others. I've never heard her brag or boast about her accomplishments and her successes, and I know there have been many. She is modest and humble and never takes anything for granted. She's one of the most mature students that I've had the pleasure of teaching. She is a natural born leader, who makes decisions based upon what is best for her. She does not do what others are doing just to fit in, but rather she has the self-confidence to do what she knows is right for herself. There's no doubt in my mind that Lacey will accomplish many great things in her life. I'm certain she will overcome any obstacles that she faces with the same determination and hard work that I've seen every day from her over the past 3 years. Lacey, mi mancherai molto. I will miss you at Lyman Hall, and I'm positive that you will do great things in your life. I wish you all the best at Central. Never doubt yourself, honey. You have the skills and the talents needed to make huge successes. You are a wonderful person, Lacey, and I'm happy for you. Tante belle cose. Ciao, ciao, bella.
Congratulations, Lacey, and thank you, Miss Bauer. So we have another shout out from Miss Sarah Vining, who says, shout out to all these incredible varsity scholars. Lyman Hall and the world are lucky to have you going out to accomplish great things, and that is very true. Next, we have Mr. Testa, who will be speaking on behalf of Jamie Malone.
Thank you and good evening. I was honored to have been asked to speak on behalf of two outstanding young women as they are recognized as 2020 Lyman Hall High School Varsity Scholars, Jamie Malone and Cassie Potter. I speak of both together because that is primarily how I know them. To me, they have always been a team. I do not dilute my praise for either by mentioning the other in my respective remarks. I am honored to first talk about Jamie Malone. I have known Jamie for 4 years as a teacher and club advisor. She always impressed me with her maturity, intellect, and sense of humor. All of that quiet but fierce. She is one of very few who have gotten the better of me with their wit. I can speak of Jamie's dedication, perseverance, and commitment to her education, as well as to the GSA Club. Her academic achievement is evident in tonight's recognition. I can speak of her leadership qualities that were evident early on. Her classmates recognized those by electing her an officer in our club for 2 years. I can speak to how she managed to keep me focused on my job as advisor. Honestly, it got to the point where I just waited for her instructions. That goes for Cassie too, and I'll get to her later. I'd like to talk about something else when I speak of Jamie. One very special part of her character is her genuine compassion for others. I experienced this firsthand when I suffered a serious heart attack over the 2018 summer. Jamie was among a very small group, mostly adults, who extended well wishes and showed concern for me. She checked in regularly to see how I was, and she sent a card with a very touching and heartfelt message. What may seem like a small thing was anything but. It meant a great deal to me. I see this same empathy for others in her regular interactions with peers. Her actions and her demeanor are so genuine that you know she cares. There is a quote commonly attributed to Maya Angelou, but is more properly ascribed to Carl W. Buhner. They may forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. I know I will never forget how Jamie made me feel, and I know I'm not the only one who can say that. Jamie, I've been fortunate to know you. Thank you for all you've done, and especially thanks for the laughs. I congratulate you on tonight's honor, and I wish you all the best that life has to offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Testa, and congratulations again to Jamie. At this time, we're going to have Mr. Pannone, yet again, speak on behalf of Francesca Motti.
It is a true privilege to speak to you about Francesca Maut. Francesca spent what would be the highlight of her Lyman Hall career in my AP World History class her sophomore year. I say this less in veracity than I do in jest, primarily because Francesca expects me to riddle this tribute with what can only be considered lame jokes. But I will not do that. My first impression of Francesca was that of a focused, enthusiastic young lady who had enjoyed academic success in all her courses. I was correct initially, but the picture grew a bit from there. I noticed that Francesca sat in a seat in class that was somehow not near anyone else. This, of course, necessitated me commenting on her location, using words like hinterland, outskirts, Mongolia, and the like. This had no effect on her. Was this a student who was resistant to my immature taunts and juvenile comments? Her resolve and focus could not be broken. Had I met my match? Not even comments about how hyper-organized her binder was could dislodge the look of ferocious intellectual pursuit from her face. I then decided on a simple strategy, the easy mark, the low-hanging fruit. I observed that our meticulously assembled Francesca possessed a rolling cart, which looked as if it was carrying roughly a third of the known books on the planet. As she left my class one day, I asked her, "What time is your flight?" The result was a glorious victory. She stopped in her tracks and gave me the look that fathers everywhere know when they deliver a howler. Eyes half shut, staring into the void, mouth threatening to smile, the shaking of the head. Francesca, you are a fiercely independent, motivated, and intelligent person. I appreciate your clever responses and your honesty. Remember, try to find the humor in everyday life. It will serve you well. I wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Pannone, and congratulations, Francesca. So at this time, we have a special shout out to Caitlin Nolan from her parents, Jennifer and Brian Nolan, who want to give a proud shout out to Caitlin for her accomplishments and success. So without further ado, we have Profe Di Virgilio speaking on behalf of Caitlin Nolan.
Buenas noches. I'm Maria Di Virgilio. I am delighted and honored to speak for Caitlin Nolan this evening. Caitlin was my student in Spanish, and she traveled to Spain with me last year on a language and culture immersion trip. Before our trip to Spain, Caitlin participated in a student exchange program. Studying abroad is an experience like no other. Caitlin left Wallingford the summer before her sophomore year and lived with an Argentine family, attended an Argentinian school, and completely immersed herself in a new and very different way of life. A year later, Caitlin traveled to Hawaii, New Zealand, and Australia. She also hosted a student from Italy last fall. These experiences gave Caitlin the opportunity to sharpen her Spanish language skills, embrace other cultures, gain independence, adaptability, leadership skills, and make lifelong friends. When Caitlin was my student, I nominated her for an award for her commitment and excellence in Spanish. There was no doubt in my mind that Caitlin deserved this honor. She was tireless in her pursuit of excellence in both language and literature, and she was devoted to speaking only Spanish during class. Her passion for travel, her dedication and devotion to her family, friends, and teammates, and her outstanding work ethic were evident in everything Caitlin curated. She included her parents in many of her video projects. Caitlin created the perfect roles for them in her videos and directed them until they got the lines and acting just right. Before I began writing this speech, I asked Caitlin for her resume. I have never seen a curriculum vitae from a student with so many accomplishments. Caitlin had to use a tiny font and the smallest margins to fit everything on two sides of one sheet of paper.
Despite all of these impressive achievements, Caitlin is one of the most unpretentious and down-to-earth students I know. Dance and fitness are important to Caitlin. She found a way to use her passions to reach out and brighten the quarantine days for many people by becoming a certified Zumba instructor and offering virtual Zumba dance lessons. Once again, we were gifted with Caitlin's generous, innovative, and kind character. Whether in the classroom, in another country, on the field hockey pitch, or in the dance studio, Caitlin is a leader who is determined to meet her goals. She made the world her classroom and wholeheartedly experienced all facets of other cultures. Because of her never-ending diligence, exceptional communication skills, attention to detail, and empathetic disposition, Caitlin will be an outstanding bilingual nurse. I know that travel will be a big part of her future, and so will success, because anything else is just not an option for Caitlin Nolan. Thank you, Caitlin, for letting me have the honor of telling everyone what an amazing person you are. Felicitaciones, Caitlin, con mucho cariño y amor.
Thank you, Mr. Virgilio, and congratulations, Caitlin. At this time, we're going to have Mr. Walls speak on behalf of Tyler Parente.
It's such an honor and privilege to be selected by a varsity scholar as the educator who has had a major influence on their development as a student and person here at Lyman Hall. However, varsity scholar speeches are notoriously difficult to write. They must be filled with personal, witty, and comical anecdotes that make the audience laugh, while also making them reflect on the tremendous academic accomplishments the student before them has achieved. Throw in a pandemic, the technical issues of making the speech into a video, and the numerous reshots required to make it, and the lack of audience engagement, you get whatever this is. I'm sorry in advance, Tyler. When Tyler first asked me to craft a speech on his behalf, I was certain he had mistaken me for one of the other bearded members of our social studies department. He must have meant to Mr. Harris, Pannone, or Scalise, I thought to myself. I saw the subject line in my email. All three of my colleagues have said wonderful things about him as he walked into my room earlier than his peers to discuss current events and sports with us. Harris's high praise of Tyler's involvement and engagement, not only in academics, but also the school community, was noteworthy. Pannone, who very rarely praises students, remarked how respectful and well-read Tyler is. And of course, Scalise, who often referred to this senior class as one of his favorites to teach, would often remark what a great person Tyler is. But as I opened Tyler's email, the first sentence in the message was, "Advanced Placement Economics has been my favorite course that I have ever taken at Lyman Hall." He stated further that economics is one of the most useful courses a student can take at Lyman Hall, and I quote, "way more useful than the other history courses that everyone loves. Don't tell Harris, Pannone, or Scalise," end quote. Oops. I know Tyler commands the respect of the other social studies teachers already mentioned, and how could he not? He is polite and respectful, always prompt and prepared, unlike his social circle. He is an excellent problem solver and has a mind geared and attuned for analysis. It makes total sense to me that Tyler is choosing to pursue a degree in finance. His analytical mind and ability to problem solve will be in high demand in that field. Not to mention he can make one heck of a marshmallow tower, under budget and under schedule. What has always perplexed me about Tyler is that with such great analytical mind, how in the world could he root for the New York Jets? The Jets have historically lost more games than they have won. The Jets are a team that haven't won a playoff game in over 10 years. The Jets are the team that is now synonymous with the phrase butt fumble. Even their superfan, Fireman Ed, abandoned them for a time. But not Tyler. Tyler has remained loyal to his team, just as he has remained loyal to his friends, school, and community. Whenever something needs to be done, Tyler is a person you can count on to be there, a very rare trait in today's world. Our first period AP economics class was much like teaching during distance learning. I would often lament at the front of the classroom that the tired and emotionless faces that would stare creepily back at me at 7:45 in the morning was sometimes torturous. So the swap to muted cameras and muted microphones made me feel right at home, pardon the pun, as we prepared for the extremely difficult AP exams that were on our horizon. During our class periods, and even during distance learning reviews, I could always look toward Tyler, who gave me his undivided attention. He was never afraid to risk being wrong to provide his analysis or to answer a very difficult question. I could always count on Tyler to be an engaged student and would sometimes spend most of the class teaching in his general direction, since he was often the only student with a pulse in the room. It has been a true honor to call you my student, Tyler. Remember our lessons and our conversations, not just about our content, but about life. I know that you will find success and happiness in this life. I can't make that claim about the Jets, but I know that you will stand by their side, loyal as ever. And while you have admitted that Tom Brady's defection from the 6-time Super Bowl champion Patriots was the best day of your life as a Jets fan, I know your life holds better days to come. Best of luck, Tyler. Oh, and one more thing. Go Patriots!
Courtney, you are dedicated, honest, intellectual, compassionate.
Great job, Mr. Walls, and congratulations, Tyler. At this time, we're going to have Ms. Dalzin speak on behalf of Courtney Perfetto.
Passionate and driven. But when I sat down to write this, I kept thinking how sea turtles are your favorite animal, and for some reason, I couldn't help but think they might actually be your spirit animal. So I hope you don't mind me saying so, but hear me out. Sea turtles are naturally beautiful and make everything look graceful. And over these past 4 years, you've worked hard but made everything look so easy. In addition to taking on challenging course load of AP classes, you were part of the Lyman Hall dance team, 3 different FFA committees, you were an FFA officer, you took piano lessons, you volunteered at the North Haven Memorial Library, and you worked with horses at Revezzi's Associates in North Branford. Perhaps you made all of this look easy because, like a sea turtle, you swim with the current and go with the flow. Even when currents appear rough, there you are, gracefully making forward progress. Or perhaps it's because, like a sea turtle, you're a great navigator. You plot your pathway and chart the different possible alternative routes, just in case. Whether working with the Paws and Claws Committee to make toys to donate to the dogs at the Wallingford Animal Shelter, working with the fundraising committee to organize our latest sale, or dedicating your time to last year's yearbook committee to produce our first professionally printed yearbook, in so many ways, in so many of our FFA committees, you have always helped guide the way. Or perhaps it's because, like a sea turtle, you stay calm under pressure. Although you also competed sophomore year, during your junior year, you led our veterinary science career development team and ended up placing 7th individually in the state. We had a very young team, and during practices, you stayed calm, cool, and collected while helping the team learn veterinary math, restraints, diseases and their clinical signs, parasitology, and so much more. You set the example for the underclassmen, and they followed you. Or perhaps it's because, like a sea turtle, you think long term. As a freshman in my Ag 1 class, you knew you wanted to be a veterinarian. Again, you navigated course selections, taking more challenging courses, and stayed calm and went with the flow, even when our Ag class split and you had to switch classes in support of your long-term goal. Or perhaps it's because, like a sea turtle, you're fearless. Your resiliency in the face of challenges life has thrown at you parallels this ancient species, which managed to survive the environmental changes that killed dinosaurs. Like the fearless sea turtle, you never give up on a challenge and are adaptable. Or perhaps it's because, like a sea turtle, you wish to be well-traveled. I know you hope to visit all 50 states, and, well, leatherback sea turtles can travel more than 10,000 miles in a year. If you're like those sea turtles, you'll accomplish that goal. This next parallel is one that I hope comes true in the future, and that is, like a sea turtle, you'll never forget where you came from. You're part of the Lyman Hall and Ag Science family forever. We're here for you, I'm here for you, and I wish you every bit of joy, happiness, and success in your future. I hope that you return often to share your adventures and all of your accomplishments. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Dalzin, and congratulations, Courtney. So at this time, we're going to have Ms. Winch speak on behalf of Matthew Pettit.
I feel so honored to be speaking on behalf of an amazing young man, Matt Pettit, who I have known throughout his 4 years at Lyman Hall. When I first met Matt, he was a quiet freshman who followed directions and designed beautiful professional documents. As a sophomore, Matt took marketing in a class consisting of mostly seniors. Gazing around the class, Matt was the one student who was typically focused on the lesson, watching, listening, and learning. Here's Matt as a sophomore, convincing the class of the benefits we'll receive if we buy these paper towels. Matt's focus and determination in class proved that he was a good candidate to operate the digital marketing system and the new printer in our school store. He learned quickly how to effectively utilize both of these tools, so as a junior, Matt became the go-to person for anything in the district that needed to be advertised or created, including a 12 by 12 foot surface of Mars. In addition to his printing and promotional duties, Matt found a company that made spirit socks. He contacted the company, created a Twitter survey, and closed the deal to add LH Spirit Socks to our product line. Matt completed all of these tasks with very little guidance. So it was about this time that I learned about the other Matt, Hockey Matt. Now, classroom Matt and Hockey Matt are mostly the same, but when Matt is on the ice, he is a fierce competitor and a force to be reckoned with. Here is a look at Hockey Matt. As a junior, Matt was one of the top scorers who led the 2019 LHK hockey team to the state championship victory over Sheehan. Classroom Matt designed and printed the state champion banner that currently hangs in the school gymnasium. Matt continued as a fierce and competitive hockey player in his senior year, and on March 9th, 2020, he scored his 150th career point. Lyman Hall was well set up to have another great run at the state title, but that was not meant to be. The coronavirus put an end to this, and Matt was unable to finish out the season or play lacrosse in his senior year. A confident man doesn't feel the need to prove that he's confident. This quote by Mark Manson epitomizes Matt Pettit. In his quiet, unassuming way, and in spite of the unfortunate end to his high school career, Matt will continue to do great things as he heads off to UConn to study kinesiology. Matt, know that you've left a legacy at Lyman Hall, both as classroom Matt and hockey Matt. Continue as your quiet and confident self, but bring out the fierceness when needed. Best of luck, Matt. I will miss you. And one more.
Thank you, Mrs. Winch, and congratulations, Matt. Job well done. Thank you, Mrs. Holt and Mr. Daly, for helping us through this night. I do appreciate it. Our next teacher will be Mr. Parcella, who will be speaking on behalf of Anastasia Pezza.
Good evening, everyone. I was asked by Anastasia Pezza to write her a college recommendation letter back in October. One of the things I wrote in this letter was she's not afraid to ask questions with respect to any concepts that have been presented. So I actually went back and searched my school email and found that last year, Stasi sent me 3,141,592 emails with questions. Now, obviously, as a varsity scholar, Stasi excels in the classroom, but in the beginning of honors pre-calculus last year, Stasi was struggling with the material and had asked me what she thought she should do. With my typical teacher response, I encouraged her to ask a lot of questions and work hard. But just as all seniors have experienced, Stasi had a lot on her plate in the beginning of the school year. Schoolwork, sports, preparing college applications, powder puff, etc. I'm sure there were some stressful discussions at home about whether or not she should move down to academic level pre-calculus, and that would alleviate some of the stress. Stasi ultimately decided to stick with honors pre-calc and quote unquote see how it goes. Well, she did work hard. She did ask lots of questions. What happened was that all the time she put into the homework and the review problems, it gave her the confidence in her ability that she had lacked in the beginning of the year. All the emailed questions that she was asking in the beginning of the year, like, how do you start question number 22, turned into questions like, I got a different answer than your answer key. Did you make a mistake? The hard work that Stasi and most varsity scholars demonstrate is what you need to be successful in college and later on in life in the real world. It is not the physical toughness, but a mental toughness that the world requires, especially in times like these. The mental toughness it takes not to quit when something seems difficult in the beginning, the mental toughness to get up and go to your 8:30 college class when you were up until 2 in the morning the night before, the mental toughness it takes to get up and go to work every day as a healthcare worker, postal worker, or grocery store employee. That mental toughness is what I see now in Stasi Petza. Stasi, you're a tremendous young woman who's destined to be successful. Congratulations on being named a varsity scholar, and I wish you all the best in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Parcella, and congratulations, Stasi. Well done. At this time, I'd like to again introduce Mr. Tester, who will be speaking on behalf of Cassandra Potter.
Thank you. And now it's my sincere pleasure to talk about Cassandra Potter. Her achievement as a varsity scholar is no surprise to me. I've known Cassie for 4 years as a club advisor. She stood out quietly through actions and achievements. Cassie is a respectful, humble, and mature young woman who is a true role model to her peers. I could see early that she was a natural leader. She exhibits all of the characteristics we hope to see in a student. She is self-motivated, responsible, and works collaboratively, setting an example of excellence. Her maturity and her work ethic stand out. All of these qualities and more have allowed Cassie to achieve the academic excellence we honor this evening. From our first year together, I was impressed by her dedication and commitment to our GSA club. It was clear to me that she was destined to be an officer, and she behaved that way even as an underclassman. After she was chosen by her classmates to be the president in her junior year, she immediately began organizing activities and planning with me through the summer. Her leadership resulted in her re-election for another year as a senior. She reached out to other area schools, and she fostered relationships that have benefited all parties. There are students in our group who are often struggling to fit comfortably into our school community. Cassie was instrumental in helping them adjust and feel welcomed and heard. That is the legacy and the memory of Cassie that will stay with me. As I said in my remarks about Jamie, I relied on them to keep me on task as their advisor. Cassie made sure I did what I had to do as the supposed grown-up in the room. She took over the planning and the messaging. In effect, I worked for her. And when you think about it, that's as it should be. I will always remember a person who put the feelings and concerns of others ahead of her own. Tonight, we honor Cassie Potter's scholastic achievement, which she accomplished with hard work and perseverance. I congratulate her on that. But I congratulate her more for who she is. Congratulations, Cassie. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Testa, and congratulations, Cassie. We have a shout out from Drew Bernard. Shout out to all of the teachers for making this night possible. I know this isn't how we all imagined our ceremony. It's great to hear about all of our accomplishments together. So kudos to that, Drew. I agree with you. I would much rather have this auditorium filled with people to celebrate the wonderful accomplishments of our students, but we're just glad we could provide you with an opportunity to watch your teachers talk about you. So well said, Drew, and I agree with you. Next up, we have Mr. Scalise, who will be saying a few kind words about Hannah Stein.
Hello. First, I'd like to congratulate all the varsity scholars this evening. You have a lot to be proud of. I am fortunate enough to be speaking tonight on behalf of Hannah Stein, so I would like to especially extend a big congratulations to Hannah on this accomplishment. I would also like to say congratulations to Hannah's parents. As a parent myself, I know how proud you must be of your amazing daughter. Many of you know that in addition to being a dedicated student, Hannah is quite an accomplished performer. Under normal circumstances, we would be standing on a stage in front of a large audience. I have never admitted this, but it's terrifying standing up there with all the eyes and ears of the audience keyed into your every word or movement. I know I am not alone in this fear. According to the Washington Post, public speaking up on stage was America's #1 fear, ahead of heights, snakes, and drowning. But Hannah has been standing on that stage performing for family and friends, strangers, since she was a kid. Like I said, not an easy feat, but in getting to know Hannah over the past few years, I know why she has the grit and poise to embrace America's greatest fear. This portrait of a fearless artist came into focus for me, not when Hannah was crushing world history, but when she was struggling in the beginning of AP US history. She was worried, dare I say scared, that she was in over her head. The DBQs, multiple choice questions, and nonstop outlining was a challenge, as it is for many. Hannah met with me often, especially when she was struggling. Her resilience was amazing. Her commitment to accept nothing less than achievement was so impressive. It's what is called grit. Grit is defined by Merriam-Webster as the firmness of mind or spirit, unyielding courage in the face of hardship or danger. This idea of grit has been popularized in a recent book bearing its name by Amy Ducksworth. But Hannah doesn't need to read a book or look up the word in the dictionary. She lives it in school, on stage, and in life. Hannah also constantly exhibits another trait so important to performers, poise. I will consult the Cambridge Dictionary this time to remind us that poise is calm in a way of a person's behaving, or a quality of grace and balance in a way a person holds or moves themselves. I imagine the hard work and great mental discipline it takes to perform has trained Hannah to a great extent in the meaning of poise. However, I think poise is more than an outward appearance or an expression of movement. I see poise too in Hannah's actions and her character. Hannah's grace, kindness, and especially her thoughtfulness of others is complemented by a firmness in her decisions and confidence to try new things. These characteristics will allow Hannah to walk confidently onto the next stage at Dean College, where she will major in musical arts and theater. I have no doubt that Hannah will face these new challenges with the grit and poise that has made her time at Lyman Hall so incredibly successful. Hannah, I wish you nothing but the best of luck as you go on to perform on life's next stage. I am so proud of you and the person you have become. Break a leg.
Thank you, Mr. Scalise, and congratulations, Hannah. At this time, we have another shout out from Mrs. Vining, our PTAC president. Shout out to the amazing teachers who honored our students tonight, and to everyone at Lyman Hall who made this unconventional evening possible. With that said, I'm going to introduce Mr. Johnson, who will be speaking on behalf of Madison Torrey.
Good evening. It is my honor to present Madison Torre as a 2020 Varsity Scholar. I had the privilege of knowing Madison and her family for many years as she grew up next to my parents' home. As a young girl, I remember Madison looking across her yard and seeing my own children with their cousins engaged in some outdoor activity. As Madison invariably joined the group, I was amazed by the seamless transition and ease of integration into an afternoon of playing and laughing. After many years of neighborly interaction, Madison and her family's kindness and generosity helped forge a strong bond between our families that will certainly endure. As the great Eli Manning once said, be committed to whatever you're doing, That's something I've taken to heart and tried to do with whatever activities I take up. Madison has lived this quote. With the support of her family, Madison has matured into a talented and well-rounded young lady. Her vast experiences through her education, athletics, her church, the arts, and her volunteerism have helped mold her and given her a strong foundation for success in the future. Madison's commitment to a variety of experiences will serve her well in the future. After witnessing Madison mature all these years, I was honored to have Madison as a student her senior year at Lyman Hall. Her kindness and academic aptitude were on full display during every interaction. She is a talented and motivated student that blends a wonderful personality with an abundance of rich experiences. UConn is lucky to be receiving such a quality young lady. As teachers, we hope to inspire all the students we encounter. Madison Torre is a young lady who has inspired me through her kindness, motivation, and intelligence. Thank you for making me part of your special evening. I look forward to hearing of your future successes as you continue your education while I optimistically wait for another Cowboys Super Bowl. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson, and congratulations, Madison. We are down to our final two students here, our final two varsity scholars, and it's my pleasure. We have a shout out. Shout out from Cassie. Congratulations to all varsity scholars. Your academic achievement is truly commendable. I wish you all the best of luck in anything and everything you do in the future. So thank you, Cassie. So now I'd like to again introduce Mrs. Sirkin to speak on behalf of Owen Toohill.
Good evening, and congratulations to all of the Varsity Scholars. It is both a pleasure and a privilege to be here speaking on behalf of Owen Toohill. Owen is what I like to think of as a gentle giant. I know there are plenty of other people that are taller than him, but to me, he is quite tall, and his kindness, respect, and heart are all just as big. Owen is truly one of the kindest and gentlest people you will ever meet. He never has a bad word to say about anyone and always thinks of others before himself, even at times when he himself might be struggling. This is truly who he is, someone that will fade into the background and let others shine, someone who loves to help people find success, whether it be in the classroom, on the golf course, through peer advocates, in student government, in unified sports, in Best Buddies, or in his other numerous volunteer activities. This speech would be way too long if I continued to list them all. These are the activities where Owen shines, showing his integrity and his strength of character as someone who chooses to be part of organizations whose primary goal is to help others in some way. Obviously, Owen is a bright young man. If he wasn't, he would not be honored here tonight. However, Owen is not one to flaunt his successes. He is a very quiet individual who doesn't always let show what he is thinking, but that doesn't mean he isn't noticed. Owen is always there, watching, listening, and waiting for the right time to answer or ask a question or to make a quick-witted comment. He is respected and adored by his friends, classmates, teammates, and faculty alike. He never shies away from a challenge, be it academic or personal, and works incredibly hard to achieve his goals. He takes such pride in all he does, especially what he can do for others. The traits that are at the core of his being, kindness, respect, selflessness, honesty, and integrity, are what make him the remarkable individual he is and what makes me so proud to know him. Owen can always make me smile and laugh, whether it be from his kindness, his one-liners, his ability to laugh at his own silly mistakes, catch me in mine, which I make far more often than I care to admit, his belief in my magic whiteboards, or his giraffes. Yes, I said giraffes. Now, most people wouldn't consider giraffes as a calculus or even math concept, but in my class, pretty much anything can turn into a calculus or math concept. My classroom is full of whiteboard tables, which besides being incredibly helpful in solving math problems, they really are magic, are great for getting creative and drawing a lot of random things. While we were still in school, my calculus class were experts in drawing colorful and random illustrations and writing interesting phrases that could last for days at a time because my other classrooms got just as much enjoyment out of them. Owen got into the habit this year of drawing giraffes, although I'm still not quite sure why. As the year went on, these giraffes started getting more unusual. There was the one with the long neck and the short legs, the one with the short neck and the long legs. There were ones that combined some calculus or other math concepts, life events, other animals, or just whatever randomly popped into his head. Then my personal favorite was a giraffe in a safari hat that became a giraffe in outer space. Just like everything else he did, Owen never made a big deal about his drawings, but it was clear to see the enjoyment he got out of being a little silly and being able to put a smile on somebody else's face. I was glad that when we transferred to distance learning, Owen would still include giraffes from time to time in the work he submitted. Wentworth is gaining an extraordinary young man. Owen, you are truly a remarkable individual, one who is kind, caring, and has enormous potential. Thank you for asking me to share this night with you. I am very proud to be here, and I cannot wait to see what the future has in store for you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Ms. Sirkin, and congratulations, Owen. And for our final speaker tonight, we have Mr. Pannone, who will be speaking on behalf of Lily Vining.
It is my profound honor to speak to you on behalf of Lily Vining. Lily was a student in my AP World History class her sophomore year. It would be more accurate to say, however, that Lily had not only decided to enroll in the class, but had decided she would perform extraordinarily well in it. She had determined it right at the onset and was not shy about alerting me to the preordained outcome. Lily was a student who first took pity on me in class, answering questions that had left a period of quiet agony in their wake. She couldn't stand the silence, so she responded, in part to break the standstill and in part to let me know that she knew the answers. I often felt she enjoyed that role, as I could sense that she did not think my questions were too difficult. Her smirk gave her away more than once. Lily is a fiercely intelligent young lady who relishes a challenge, and challenges she did have that year. By June, I came to firmly comprehend not only Lily's passion for intellectual pursuits, but her singular focus, her ability to meet every type of issue with the force, commitment, and decorum required to dismantle it and move on. The author, Haruki Murakami, in his book Kafka on the Shore, wrote, "And once the storm is over, you won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure, in fact, whether the storm is really over. But one thing is certain. When you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what this storm's all about." Lily, there will be more storms and more challenges in your life, as is true for all people. You have a keen understanding of the world around you, which comes from your intellect, bravery, wit, and compassion. This will serve you well as you navigate through life. I know you will go on to do great things for many people. I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Mr. Pannone, and congratulations, Lily. Great job, and congratulations to all of our varsity scholars. A few notes that I want to go over. So all students and families will be receiving a copy, a paper copy of the speech. We'll be mailing them home shortly. We did not want you to get a copy of the speech before it was read because the excitement of hearing it for the first time is really wonderful. But we will be mailing a copy of the speech home to all of our varsity scholars. So thank you to our teachers. Thank you to our faculty for all the hard work you put in for recording those videos and letting the students exactly know what they mean to you. That's always one of my favorite moments is listening to how much of an impact our students have had on the staff here and the building here at Lyman Hall and our overall community in Wallingford. There's some tremendous accomplishments of the students that you've heard about tonight. I think everyone can see just what our teachers see on a daily basis, and you can see that the impact these 32 young men and women have had on Lyman Hall and will have for years to come in whatever they do. So congratulations again. Again, I want to thank the Board of Education. I want to thank the administration here. I want to thank Marika Sagnella, our wonderful librarian who helped us put this together. Evan Lucier, our district IT guy, who none of this would have happened without. I know this is not the way we planned on ending the night. I never imagined myself staring at an empty auditorium as we do our Varsity Scholar ceremony. But I do think it was a special evening, one that we'll have recorded and posted here shortly for everyone to watch for years to come. Congratulations to the parents. These young men and women would not be here without you. All your late nights and tireless efforts to drive them to be the young men and women they are. So thank you very much. And finally, to our Varsity Scholars, this is just the beginning. I've said in many speeches at graduation that do not let Lyman Hall or the high school be the best 4 years of your life. If these are the best 4 years of your life, we have failed you. You have so much more to come, so much more to do, and really your impact will be felt on a much larger in a much larger way than just here at Lyman Hall. So thank you for all your hard work. Thank you for what you do. And thank you for participating with us tonight. Good night.